When you were talking to the Wall Street Journal, I mean, you weren't any like crazy expert, were you? I mean, you were just doing the platform.
No. Yeah, exactly. I didn't have a crazy amount of followers. I still don't. You know, one thing that I tell a lot of insurance agents when it comes to marketing is you need to at least have some kind of presence everywhere. You know, the number one insurance agent on MySpace doesn't exist anymore. So when these platforms disappear, you need to have somewhere to shift, and you'd rather not start from scratch.
When the going gets rough, you know how the saying goes. Sometimes things happen. Life happens, and it's not always our fault. In this podcast, we'll feature real-life testimonials from people like you, from good times to bad, funny memories and hard lessons learned. Everyone has a story, and everyone has been there. From business owners to parents to young adults, the Hive Five aims to tell stories of overcoming the struggles of adulting while celebrating the little victories of life. In each podcast, our guests will give insight to 5 key takeaways from someone who's been there and done that, leaving you better than when you started. Hey, this is Kagan with BriteBee.com, where insurance quotes don't sting. Thanks for listening to the High Five podcast. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you subscribe and review. I know I'm asking a little prematurely here, but please don't forget to subscribe and review. It helps us out a lot. But moving forward, I'm really excited to talk with Bradley Flowers on the High Five podcast today. Bradley is the owner and independent insurance agent with Alfa Insurance in Saraland, Alabama. He's also a co-host of the Insurance Guys podcast, and in 2017 was even named the #1 insurance personality on Snapchat by the Wall Street Journal, which I didn't even know that you could be a #1 insurance personality on Snapchat. So Bradley, thanks for being on. You're famous in my eyes.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it. I'm not famous, man. I really appreciate the introduction.
Well, so tell me first off, how do you become the #1 insurance personality on Snapchat? Because at first I think about Snapchat as it goes away in a certain time. So
right,
I guess you're Snapchatting all the time for people to remember you.
Well, to be honest, I've actually moved away from the platform a little bit. Unfortunately, they never published that article.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
But they literally did say it. This is not the guy that's saying they said it. They didn't say it. They didn't publish it. There's no proof. But basically, I got on Snapchat early, like really, really early, and basically would just document my day, right? People would message me and be like, man, I didn't realize you did so much in a day, you know, because in Mobile, Alabama, I'm 40 minutes from the beach. You know, everybody thinks of the insurance agent wearing the wool slacks who gets to the office at 9 and is at the golf course at 3:30, 4 beers deep. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, and that's, oh my God, you're literally working 14, 15 hours a day and you're just absolutely busting your butt. And so I would just document my day. And I got to the point where I started getting some business from it. Nothing crazy, but enough that it was, you know, like I would sell some life insurance cases from it. And a lot of times it was kids, like the kids would be like, can you quote my insurance? Right. But the insurance was actually in the parent's name. You know, that kind of stuff started happening. Yeah. And I actually liked communicating with clients on Snapchat because I could tell if they had read the message or not, you know? And so basically what happened, Gary Vee was on Snapchat early as well. And a lot of these personalities like Gary Vee go to a platform really early. And if you're there too, it's an opportunity to talk to get to them a lot easier than you could somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So I literally, not on a first name basis, but I would like message Gary Vee and he would respond and things like that. And we weren't friends or anything like that, but it would just, you know, hey, he would engage, right? Yeah. So I remember at one point, I can't remember what led to the conversation, but basically he was like, look, reach out to top industry publications in your industry and ask to write an article about how to market on Snapchat. So I reached out to lifehealthpro.com, which is now thinkadvisor.com, and I wrote a blog post for them. And the blog post told a story about how I did a paid geotag on Snapchat and my ROI on that was 364% or something like that, right?
Wow.
So that got the attention of the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal called me, lady named Daisy Maxey with the Wall Street Journal. I give her name, that way people can verify with her that this happened. But Daisy is a reporter, or was a reporter at the Wall Street Journal, and talked about Snapchat for 2 hours in an interview. The interview happened almost a year after they originally reached out. Unfortunately, during that interview, they said, as far as we're concerned, you're the #1 insurance agent on Snapchat. And I told them, I said, guys, you're going to have to give me about 5 minutes. I'm going to need to go put that on all my bios, on all my social media. I'm getting to the point to where I need to take it off, but it's kind of something cool and quirky. But unfortunately, a little while later, Snapchat went public soon thereafter. And all the talk on the Wall Street Journal was how Snapchat stock sucks, not how you can get business from it. So that's actually, believe it or not, a very shortened version of that story.
Yeah. Well, that's really funny. And I mean, when you were talking to the Wall Street Journal, I mean, you weren't any like crazy expert, were you? I mean, you were just doing the platform.
No. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I didn't have a crazy amount of followers. I still don't. And I don't use it much anymore. I still have it because, you know, one thing that I tell a lot of insurance agents when it comes to marketing is you need to at least have some kind of presence everywhere. You know, the #1 insurance agent on MySpace doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So when these platforms disappear, you need to have somewhere to shift, and you'd rather not start from scratch. Right. So I still have an account. I don't really use it, but no, didn't have a crazy amount of followers. I got enough engagement that I got some business off of it. And I still do. You know, I have a friend of mine who a few months ago reached out for a quote and has no form of social media other than Snapchat. And he's like, I see yourself on Snapchat, so I reach out to you, you know? So
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how all that can work. I mean, you and I commented on a LinkedIn post of yours. And
right. That's another great example.
Yeah. And what was funny is I was talking to Chris Paradiso, and he goes, yeah, do you know Bradley? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I just commented on a post, and now I'm talking to him. So that's about all I know. It's
and LinkedIn is another platform that I sort of just check the box on. It's not, I don't have a huge amount of focus on it, but every now and then something like that'll happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know exactly why I came across you or whatever, but glad I did.
Right.
So, well, tell me a little bit about your background and why you got started in insurance.
So, believe it or not, everybody, you know, I've interviewed a bunch of people on my podcast, and every single one of them say, well, I did not intend on becoming an insurance agent. I was actually 15 years old, and I told my dad I wanted to be an insurance agent. The reason I said that, well, I don't really know what he said, to be honest, but the reason I said that was because I was a golfer, and all the golfers played insurance, or all the golfers were insurance agents. They were the ones that were at the golf course at 3:30 every day. Fast forward a few years later, I was actually working at a cell phone store for a company called Southern Link, which I don't think exists anymore. They were like beep beep radios. Uh-huh. And the area we were at was a terrible area for that particular product because there wasn't great service there in terms of the phones didn't pick up signal very well. And so a friend of mine who was selling insurance for Liberty National, life insurance only company, came by my office one day and was like, dude, if you can sell this stuff, you can sell insurance. So I quit my job, and a few days later started with Liberty National. And to be honest, I loved it immediately. And I liked the fact that I was a professional. You know what I mean? I could dress nice, and I could talk to people about serious stuff, not cell phones. And I knew absolutely nothing about insurance, but my boss at the time, who is still a very good friend of mine, Jonathan Jones, you know, he taught me a pitch for, you know, one type of policy that I could sell. I learned that pitch, and I could replicate it over and over and over. Did that for about a year. Went to work for a captive agent for a year, and then ended up where I'm at now. So that's sort of the shortened version of how I got in insurance. And I consider myself a marketer first and an insurance agent second. But it hasn't always been that way. I sort of learned marketing very early, 2013, 2014, and just sort of recognized that none of my competition was really marketing on social media. They were all doing direct mail and billboards and radio. And it wasn't that I was just like, I could see the future and I thought this was going to pan out, but it was the fact that they weren't there and I was just going where they were not going. Right. So.
Yeah. Well, tell me this, what's your thought when I talk to people and I say, well, how are you gaining business? You know, are you online or what are you doing? And they look at me and they say, I'm referral based only. And
right.
Go,
they want to thump their chest.
Well, that's good. That's great. I mean, I think definitely that's very helpful. But what else are you doing?
Right.
I'm not doing anything.
Right.
What would you say to that? What are your thoughts?
I think it's one of two things. It's either I've caught lightning in a bottle and I have no idea where the heck my business is coming from, but we're profitable and I'm pulling the window shade down. I don't want to know. Or it's I've gotten complacent and I'm good with the amount of business I'm getting. So I'm going to say it's referral based. That would be my interpretation of that. I think the level at which those people that say they're referral based want you to think they're referral based, only about less than 10% of agencies are actually there, I think.
Well, I mean, there's only so many people and you can only get so many referrals. So,
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we track everything. I want to know where everything came from. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who owns not really a fast food restaurant, but like a step above a fast food restaurant yesterday. And they're not struggling, but business is down. And we were just having a conversation I was like, well, where are your people coming from? And he said, well, they're coming from Saraland. And I said, well, man, Saraland has 14,000 people and there are about 8 communities around Saraland that have 14,000 people. Saraland is just the hub. That's where everything is. So these people probably aren't coming from Saraland. I said, why don't you do this? When someone comes in your business, ask them what their zip code is. Nothing else. Just ask them what their zip code is. Have all the zip codes out on a piece of paper and the cashier just checks off what the zip code is. And if you see 36610 is 50% of your business, do a marketing campaign for 36610. I think you have to track where everything comes from, even if it is referral based. Because if it is referral based, say, why did you refer them to us?
Right.
Because the reason they may have referred them to you is not because of price. It may be because of service, or it may not be because of service. It may be, well, the reason I referred John to you is because they're close to your office.
Right. Yeah, you definitely got to know. One of the things that we really like to do on the High Five podcast is do 5 key takeaways. And we just want our people listening to be able to take 5 things away coming from you, the number 1 insurance personality on Snapchat. And why would someone not want to know something from you? So let's start with these 5 key takeaways. So this first key takeaway you gave us was your competition is your friend. Give me some insight on what's going on in your thoughts with that takeaway.
So I'm working on a blog post right now. I've been in the business 7 years. It's going to be the top 7 things that I've learned being in the business 7 years. I only have 1 point so far, one thing I've learned, because I've learned many things. And this is the one thing, is the competition is your friend. So the reason I say that is I worked for an agent one time who was not a huge fan of any competitors, didn't want to conversate with them, didn't want to know what was going on, didn't want to collaborate, nothing like that, right? And I would do that. We were captive. I would collaborate or partner with or go to lunch with or just chat with, become friends with the independent agents, right?
Yeah.
And because, we can only write, we might have had a 24% close ratio where the independent agent might have 85 on a bad month. And so why wouldn't I send them business if they're going to reciprocate, right?
Right.
A good friend of mine, Troy Korsgarden, who is the author of Power Position Your Agency, just recently wrote a book called Discussion Partner. And Troy's a captive agent. And basically what he's laid out in that book is the structure of the 2019, 2020 agency is not going to be, we do auto, home, and life. But it's, if your your client calls you and says, I want you to insure my airplane. You have someone in your arsenal that can insure an airplane. You go find them, and then depending on state regulation, things like that, you're somehow incentivized for that. That way everybody's helping everybody, right?
Yeah, it's a market network, and that's what it's going to be.
Exactly, 100%. And so, I think that collaboration is a key thing that people don't talk about. I was a Grant Cardone follower very early, if you're familiar with Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
And one thing Grant Cardone does is he has these podcasts and these shows, and he'll use the podcasts and the shows to bring his competition on, not necessarily to promote them, but obviously they're promoted by default, but he wants to get in their circle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've done that with our podcast. We had the #1 realtor in the state of Alabama on our podcast, on an insurance podcast, for nothing else other than I just wanted to connect with him, right? And I know that's not necessarily my competition, but to give you another example, I'm actually married to my biggest competitor, who is my next agency next door to me is my wife. So
that's awesome.
I believe in keeping the competition close. Now, I'm not saying you don't want to kick your competition's ass. You want to do that. But I think at the end of the day, I had an agent ask me one time. He said, I think there's too much animosity between agents, right? So I had an agent ask me one time, this was early when we had started our podcast. We were maybe 6 months in, and he's like, man, why would you create a podcast where you're literally giving away all your secrets? You're literally helping your competitors. And he's like, and I know you are, because I'm one of them. And I looked at him and I said, you and I are not competitors. We're competitors with the people who are trying to put us out of business. That's our competition. Mm-hmm. Not you and I. You and I need to stick together, because if I can help you and you can help me, the rising tide lifts all ships. So it's just something I believe in. There's no competitor that I have that I absolutely hate and wouldn't speak to if I saw them on the street, or wouldn't help out on a case and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, you're speaking directly to BriteBee's mission, and man, you're right. It's extremely clear. Like, people come and they say, well, I don't want to compete with anyone else. And we're like, guys, you don't understand. First off, you're already competing with other people. It's already out there. And then, I mean, even if you look at the name brands, State Farm is on Progressive's website.
Right.
That's how crazy it is.
Well, so also there's enough business to go around. Like I said, I'm in a town of 14,000 people. My wife is my next door competitor. Before we were dating, when we were just friends, my pitch to her, my come on line when I was trying to get her to go out with me was, there's enough business to go around, right? I'll say this. We are next door to each other in a town of 14,000 people. I'm on the chamber board. She's on the chamber board. I'm in the Lions Club. She's in the Lions Club. I'm on the Make-A-Wish board. She's on the Make-A-Wish board. We run into each other a lot physically. We almost never fight over the same clients. Yeah. Almost never. Because, well, number one, we market in different ways. Yeah. But in terms of our paid marketing. But number two, there's enough to go around, man,
Yeah. Well, I think that brings us to our next key takeaway is always play the long game. How do you and your agency play that long game?
So I think I was listening to an interview with Gary Vee the other day, and I know I listened to your podcast with the young lady that worked for Gary Vee. Yeah. Today. So I know everybody knows who Gary Vee is, so I have to explain that. But so Gary Vee, he talked about this kid that approached him in an airport, and it's on one of his latest videos. Kid approached him in an airport, and kid gives him the spiel about how he lost all his money doing something, and Gary's response was, you went for short-term payoff, didn't you? He's like, absolutely. I made a money play. And so that's just sort of how I think about things. It's how my brain is wired. It's not, okay, how can I benefit from this right now? how is this going to benefit me 10 years from now? How you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And the simplest example is with marketing and branding. All of my marketing and branding, the brand is what's going to propel me for the long term. The brand is what, after the paid advertising stops, my brand stays. That's what's going to keep people in the door, right? And I will sacrifice, and I say this I tiptoe around the subject, but I will sacrifice short-term business for the long-term play, right? An example I give, my brand and my marketing is very important to me. And an example I give is a few weeks ago, I was, like I said, from the previous question, I have a lot of competition that are friends of mine, right? So we'll go to a networking event, right? And I say this very humbly. I'm not trying to thump my chest by saying this, but I'll go to a networking event and have several of my friends who are other insurance agents with me. And almost every networking event I go to around here, somebody comes up to me and says, I love your marketing. I love your social media. I love your videos. And I have no idea who they are. Okay.
Yeah.
And my friends that are competitors will be like, I hate that. Man, I wish that would happen to me. Things like that, right? It happens to you every time, right?
Right.
So fast forward, a few weeks ago, I got to the office about 6:30 in the morning, and I had 3 things that I had to do before 8 o'clock pertaining to clients, right? And it was just service things I had to take care of. And I sit down at my desk. The very first thing I do is I start putting together an Instagram post for that day, right?
Yeah.
Now, I still got the 3 things done. It wasn't like I got to the office at 7:45 and I had to get them done. But I'm doing my Instagram post, and while I did it, I stopped and I leaned back and I was like, if 99 of my competitors were in this room watching me do this and they had the same choice, they would do the 3 things first and then maybe do the social media post if they could squeeze it in, right? Because I do all my stuff. None of it's outsourced.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I said, the same people that don't make their brand a priority are the same people that get pissed off when people don't recognize them at networking events.
Sure.
So I will sacrifice the short term for the long term. I think you always have to make the long play. I think when agents get complacent, like we talked about the referral guy, I think you're taking short term over long term, right?
Right.
Another example, I was actually talking to my co-host Scott today. He is about to do a big giveaway in his office, and I was just sort of talking on the phone with him about it. He's going to do a live video and basically tell people to DM him if they want to get in on the contest and share the video or whatever. And he said, and I said, make sure you do it from your business page. And he says, why? And I said, why? Because when I do stuff from my personal page, he said, I get way more engagement than I do on my business page, like everybody else in the world. Right.
Right.
And I said, because Scott, think about it like this. Yeah, you can do it from your business page and you're going to get more stuff in the short term, more engagement in the short term. But if you do it from your business page, you're going to get less engagement, but people are going to like that page, and that post is going to reach more people than a normal post would. Those people are going to like your page, and further down the road are going to engage with more of your business page stuff, because at some point you're going to hit that 5,000 cap that Facebook puts on there, and you're going to have 5,000 friends, but you're going to have 1,000 followers on your business page, right? So think about it as a long-term. It's a long-term deal. And that's sort of, a simple example. Another thing I do, so one of my things that I do is I go around to real estate offices and I give presentations on social media. That's my number one source of business at this point. So I give presentations on social media to realtors, and in turn, they send me referrals. I don't have to ask for it. They just do.
That's awesome.
So, not to say referrals are my number one source of business. That's I'm just kidding. So, anyway, one thing I tell them is so many people are way too much right hook online, right? And there's too much salesy, especially in the insurance game.
Yeah.
And even in real estate. And this is why, because they're posting on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn with the intention of, okay, I'm going to make this post and somebody's going to request a quote today, or somebody's going to buy from me today. And when you do that, even if you give value in your head, if the intention is to make a sale, you're going to be too salesy and you're going to lose. what you need to do is you need to post with the intention of creating engagement on that post. To me, that's what the better marketers do. And in turn, that will lead to a conversation, which leads to a sale. That's another long-term play. So that's sort of my definition and my philosophy.
Well, I think that brings us to a really good segue into this next one. So the marketing side, definitely you believe that's really a first priority for you, but at the same time, you don't let customer experience and customer service go by the wayside. And so the next key takeaway you said was customer experience is greater than customer service. What's that about?
Mm-hmm. Reason that's the case is because everybody gives good customer service.
You're right about that. Everyone.
If I were to, or at least they say they do, right?
Yeah.
So if
what
I
makes
was in
you
a room full of
customer service.
Yeah, exactly. If I was in a room full of, and I do this when I do my realtor presentations, if I was in a room full of insurance agents, every insurance agent in the United States of America, and said, who here gives good customer service? Every single hand would go up. And there's a really good chance that everybody actually gives good customer service. I don't know where you guys are located, if you guys have Chick-fil-A there.
Oh, Chick-fil-A. I came from Chick-fil-A. I was a Chick-fil-A guy. Yeah, I know Chick-fil-A.
Oh, were you? Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Yeah. So Chick-fil-A, this is what I tell people. You're not getting good customer service at Chick-fil-A. You're getting good customer experience.
That is so right. So I got to stop you right there. So just got this new gym in town. We're in Oklahoma City. So got this new gym in town. And it's one of those gyms where you look at it, it's massive, and it's very nice. And the service is supposed to be unbelievable. Okay. And I pay for it. But I go in and it is one thing after the other that's just wrong. And finally I told the person, I said, hey, look, listen, I am here. I said, I know it sounds snobby, but I am here because I want the experience. When I get up at 4 a.m. and come here, I want to start my day off with an amazing experience. Sounds snobby, and that's okay. But I'm just telling you my reasoning. My reasoning is not because of that, the weights, the free weights over there. My reasoning is because when I walk in, I want an amazing experience, not good customer service. I want an experience. And, I still think I need to teach a class on that to them. But I get what you're saying. It's hard to say this is how to do it. You know what I mean? Because our customer experience in our office is something that I'm constantly working on. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, the thing about gyms is gyms are never going away, right? There's no amount of home workout equipment that'll replace a gym. Right.
It's kind of like that post office government employee, like it's not a priority in that industry because they're not going, gyms close and gyms open, but the gym industry in and of itself, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's, customer experience, customer service is what happens when something goes wrong. Customer experience is what you're proactive about. Now that's a Sidney Rowe statement. I stole that from Sidney Rowe with Agency Nation. That's not Bradley Flowers. But I've got a buddy, and I've told this story publicly so many times. Eventually, he's going to hear one of these and be like, "You're talking about me." I got a buddy that I was doing marketing for, and I do a little bit of marketing on the side. I don't take any money. I either do it for free, or I either do it, spend my own money just to help the person, or it's a wash and they just basically pay me and I do it for them. But like pay me for the ad spend or whatever. Sure. And we sat down this pre-meeting. I'm like, okay, what's your goal for your business? Oh, I want to take my business to X amount of dollars next year. Like, well, how are you going to do that? Good customer service. Like, okay, great. But how are you going to do that? He's like, through outstanding customer service. I said, but like physically, what are you guys going to do? Through simply exceptional customer, like you're just adding words to customer service. Like what is it? What is customer service? When something goes wrong, we're going to help. Exactly. That's the sale. nobody that's in business for a long period of time doesn't give good customer service, especially in the insurance industry.
Right.
So, and this guy wasn't in the insurance industry, but so, you know, my focus on a day-to-day level from a tangible aspect is how to make that customer experience better. Is our customer experience great? No. But it's more important to me than customer service, because I know if something goes wrong, our people or myself are going to jump in and we're going to make it right. You know, I drove from Mobile, Alabama to Roanoke, Alabama. We had a client who we accidentally took too much money out of her account, bank draft, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it was going to take 2 to 3 business days for a check to be mailed to her, and a refund check. And she did not have, the carrier did this, not our agency. She did not have the money to make her house payment. And I drove, and this is not to brag, I drove from Mobile, Alabama to Roanoke, Alabama. Halfway there, stopped by the home office of the carrier. They hand wrote me a check. I drove that, so it wasn't my money, it was carriers. I drove from Mobile to Roanoke, which is 6 hours. One way, 6 hours. Handed her the check, said, go make your house payment, drove back. That's customer service. That's not customer experience, because she's still pissed off that it happened.
Sure.
But I made it right. You see what I mean? Like, good customer experience would be something that happened on the front end that made it okay that happened. You see what I mean? Like, you know, this happened, it sucks, but they did a really, you know, they're awesome, this kind of thing, you know. So to me, man, that's, you know, that's the way that we as brick and mortar agencies are in the long run going to separate ourselves from the online companies and or close the gap.
Yeah. Find out what's holding you back from doing what you want to do and get over it. That's your 4th takeaway.
So you asked on here, do I have a specific story? And I do. This is something I've talked about on my podcast before. So I was on, and if I'm talking too much, let me know. I go on tangents. I was on Periscope extremely early, right?
Okay.
At that point, I had 2 years ago, I had never put myself on camera in a marketing setting. Now that's like my go-to. So if you'd have told me 2 years ago that I would flip open Facebook Live and talk to people about insurance, I'd have said, you are freaking crazy. There's no way I'm doing that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I was on Periscope early. I was on Periscope back in the day where you could click the little heat map in the United States of America, and there'd only be 2 or 3 people going live, right? Yeah. And you jump on there, because I went live one time and didn't put my face on there. I was like, showing the beach or something. There was like 30,000 people on there. Like, could you imagine getting that on a Facebook Live, right? Oh, wow. So, I mean, I do Instagram Live, and there's 4 people on there, and I go with it, you know? Right. So, and I would not put my face on. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And finally I realized, like, what is it that's keeping me from doing this? And I identified that it really, the only thing that was keeping me back was the fact that I cared what my fellow agents thought about me. They would, oh, he's so stupid. Why is he even doing that? I cannot believe it. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, it was the opinions of other agents that was keeping me from doing that. And finally one day it just hit me. I was driving down the road and I was like, they're literally never going to buy insurance from me, ever. Why do I care what they think? And I remember what happened. There was a competitor who I am friends with, who was basically selling a product. This person did not do business with their own agency, and I knew that for a fact. Gotcha. And this person was out there selling this product. And I'm a firm believer that you cannot sell a product that you don't own, or you cannot sell your agency to somebody if you yourself don't do business with your agency. And so the very first video I did was, if your insurance agent is trying to sell you, whoever's trying to sell you a product, ask them if they're doing business with themselves. If they're not, you need to find out where they are doing business and go there. And so that was the first video I made. And ever since then, it was full force. So I always give that advice to people. Like, if something's holding you back, if you're not doing something that you know you need to be doing, figure out what's holding you back and then climb that mountain, right? One thing right now that I know I need to be doing is I want to do I think there's a market for like a daily vlog, right? I feel like I'm good enough on camera and enough interesting things happen to me throughout a week that I could put out a daily, weekly, monthly vlog, right?
Yeah.
But I had to identify, Zach and Matt with GNN Insurance, absolutely killing it with their daily vlog, Bobble On. It's great. Go watch it. It's Gary V quality. I need to be doing that. So I had to identify what it is that's keeping me from doing that and then figure out a way to overcome it. So that's just something I believe in.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. You and I need to talk about that more, because I'm that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm okay to be on video, but honestly, that's not my, it's not what I thrive on, so it's not like I want to put
I was always a writer. I was always the blogger, right? I had a very good English teacher in high school. I was always the one, like my go-to is always blogging. I'd write a blog post, a LinkedIn post, a Medium. If you go back on my LinkedIn, you'll see some old articles on there from 2015, 2016. A lot of them I've taken down because my opinions changed. But, but then what I figured out is it would be easier for me to get on camera and say the spiel about customer experience than it would be for me to write a blog post, right? Even though the blog post might be really good, it's going to take me longer to do that, So now what I do is I go video first, and then if I want to write a blog post, I go to the notes section on my iPhone, I hit the little voice to text, and I talk. I email it to myself, I fix the grammar, and I post it. So it's all about time. It's easier for me to get on camera. I don't think I have great camera skills. I was on the phone with Nick Ayers last night, just chatting for a minute. Nick's brilliant with video, and I'm like, man, his skills on camera are so much better than mine. But I know how to get my message across in my way. So
no, it makes sense. Well, your last key takeaway is give value, and this is a big one that BriteBee strives to meet in everything we do. And so, how do you specifically aim to provide value to your clients?
So, I think that in every area of life, you need to try to give more than you expect to receive, right? We do that with our podcast. We do that we do that in the office. We try to provide as much value as possible. My goal when I sit down with a client is not to sell something. It's to sell them the best policy or point them in the direction for their best policy. I tell every client, this is not my value pitch, but I tell every client, look, show me what you got or show me what you're getting quoted. If I can't beat it, I'll tell you. And I literally mean that. It's not a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
I do this a lot with my realtors that I talk to. I had a realtor call me yesterday, and she said, hey, Bradley, I want you to sit down and help me with some marketing stuff. And I'm one of these guys that every minute of every day is booked up. We got lucky with this today because I had a 3-hour thing that canceled, so I had a bunch of white space, but literally everything's accounted for. And so my time is precious to me. But my favorite thing that I do besides the podcast on a daily basis is sitting down with either realtors or other people and talk about marketing, right? I love and helping them with that. I love helping people. I really do. I'm not money motivated at all. And this realtor called me, new realtor. She wants to sit down and talk about her marketing. And I'm like, great. And she's like, I know your time's valuable, so I'm willing to pay you. I'm like, no,